Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 183. I sincerely hope and pray that you and yours are all safe and sound right now as we keep moving through these current times. It is definitely, at the very least, weird. For some people, very sad. And for them, you're in my prayers. I'm sorry to hear that. For the rest of you, well, let's keep moving the ball forward, because together we will get through this and at the end be a little bit better. I want to thank all of you for your well wishes and all your very kind emails. You've kept me very busy, and I thank you. I want to thank you for listening to the Moose Podcast and keep telling others to tune in. Also want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com, for sponsoring the Moose Podcast and, of course, helping us photographers as we get through this, getting us what we need when we need it with good services and most especially advice. You've been really great. Remember, when you check out, to not only say thanks for sponsoring the Moose Podcast, but the word Moose into the discount code to get that special pricing. For most states, no sales tax, and orders over $99, no shipping. And make sure you click on the link here on the post. PhotoCon coming in June. We will be getting through this. We're going to have all these pent up, ready to go creative juices. We need to sit there and let loose, and PhotoCon will be a great place to do it. Well, let's get right into this week's podcast. Let's look at the opportunity. Part 1. Now, this next two podcasts, well, they could be, and I know some people out there are going to say, Moose is talking to me because he said this before. And it's true, but I'm talking to all of you now. Let's talk opportunity. What am I talking about? Right now, majority of us are staying at home. As per we've been, asked and requested, and common sense says that's the thing to do. And I know some folks are going a little bit nutso. What can they do? Well, here's the thing. There's a few of you out there, and you know who I'm talking to, who have, for lack of better terms, procrastinating getting their images out to publications for printing, for getting published. And the most common reason why they don't is, I don't have the time. Well, right now, I bet you have the time. Lots of you have the time. How can you make the most of this time? Well, I'm going to give you in the next 30 minutes, this podcast, the next, a basic recipe, how you can get published editorially. So let's just dive right in. How do you do it? First and foremost, I'm going to give you the advice that was given to me back in 91 by a really amazing editor, Pete. His first words of advice to me, which I still use to this day, is write from your files. Now, what does write from your files mean? It means that the photographs you have taken, not ones you mean to take, ones you want to take, ones you hope to take, but ones you actually have now shot, done, ready to be shared, write the article from those photographs. And it sounds so simple, but there's a few steps to get involved in that. First and foremost, what I'm going to highly recommend to you is that you just don't try to sell a photograph or a couple photographs. Sell what I call a text photo package, which is the common term back in the day, especially for an article, a text photo package. So you're going to start with those photographs you have in your files. Now, which photographs did you pick from? I bet you have lots of options. Well, I'm going to recommend you pick from and you start with those photographs that you have the most personal tie to. You have a tie to either the actual photographs, the subject, both those together. That's where you're going to start. Now, why start with those photographs? Well, what you're going to find out is actually the first article is the easiest. And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, the first one's got to be the hardest. Actually, the first one's the easiest because you have so many possibilities, right? You know your own image files. You know all the photographs you have. From those photographs, there's an article. Now, it doesn't matter whether you are a wildlife photographer or aviation, landscape, coin collector, cooking, flowers, there is just a gazillion genres, okay? It doesn't matter. I'm going to highly recommend you start with those images that you have a passion for, maybe a self-interest, a personal, investment into them. Now, how many photographs should you have for this thing? I'm going to recommend you pick 15, 20 max. 20 max. What you're going to do is you're going to go to your files and you're going to find those 20 photographs. And I'm just going to start off with something generic. You can sit there and think about it. And of course, you can always email if you have, questions. But I'm going to pick wildlife. Shocker, huh? And I'm going to take and think about sending that to Golf Magazine. Huh? Wildlife pictures to Golf Magazine? You have no idea the wildlife that golfers see on a golf course. If you have photograph of the red-tailed hawk, the raccoon, the red fox, some of those, basic things, you'd be surprised how instantly you might have an article for Golf Magazine. GOLF. Golf. Swing forward. Golf Magazine. Yes, you got to think maybe a little bit outside the box. But as you understand, listen to the both podcasts, it'll all make crystal clear sense. So you're going to pick those images. Now, what images are you going to pick once you think about that? Whatever it happens to be. Well, the first thing is, keep in mind is you want to provide a service for that photo buyer. Photo buyer, another word for photo editor, art director, many different words for the person who's going to actually select the photographs. And you're going to send your images to them, not the writers. And here's why. The photo editor is the one that's got the knowledge and the smarts to look at your photographs and say, okay, here's these photographs. This is the heart of an article. Because once you have the photographs, you got to be honest, anybody can write words. I mean, hey, let's look at who we're talking with right now. This is Moose here. You've probably read some of my posts and you probably said, what the hey was he trying to say? Because I write so fast and I often don't proofread. Yet, I have how many books? A couple dozen, right? That means that editing can be dealt with. The photographs, once they're shot, it's a done deal. So you're going to look at your photographs. You're going to look at those images. You're going to look for 2 things, 3 things, maybe 5 things. Depends on who you are, the story you want to tell. First thing I'm going to talk about is you need to have sure that you have very basic technical excellence in your photographs. The exposure is correct. The exposure is correct when you took the picture, not after you fixed it in post. The sharpness is correct. You caught the right sharpness at the time of taking the picture, not in post. Now, why am I saying that? Why am I saying you need to get the exposure right in the camera and focus right in the camera? Because some magazines, you start sitting there and making what it needs to be done to print it on the page, images fall apart. What's fall apart mean? Means the picture technical quality sucks, okay? Fall apart's a nice way of saying that you screwed up the exposure, you screwed up the focus. So that's the first criteria when you look at your pictures. You got the exposure right in the camera, you got the focus right in the camera. Very important in the editorial marketplace. Keep in mind, you really have one chance here. You send it into photo buyer A. If you screwed up with photo buyer A, the odds of getting back in with photo buyer A are slim. Because remember that photo buyer, they report to the boss, maybe 2 bosses. They're not the last word. They're just part of the chain of command. You make the photo buyer look good. With their bosses, they don't forget it. They're going to come back to you. So, again, emphasize, you've got the exposure right in the camera. You got the focus right in the camera. If you don't know why that's important, then you're going to have a heck of a learning experience here. Maybe a little bit of the hard way. That's part of photography. All right, so that's the first criteria. Next, you're going to make sure that the subject that you have decided to write about, the subject, okay, smacks the viewer between the eyes. It's, again, something that has to be done in the camera, not in post. Now, once you have that, you want to make sure that next, the photographs you are going to submit kind of follow a basic logic. Let me give you a real loose, example. You're going to talk about, in this supposed mythical article here, of friends coming over for a nice dinner. That means you're going to have a photograph of people coming to the door and being greeted. You're going to have a photograph of this social moment. You're going to have individual pictures that show the character of the two people coming over. You're going to show a reference of where they're going to sit. You're probably going to show a nice photograph of the food they're going to eat. Then you're going to show, commonality at the table of everybody there having a great time. And finally, you might show a photograph of the food all gone and a little speck of chocolate left on a dessert plate. So your photograph's going to have a basic flow, a start and an end. That's really without any captions, without anybody explaining it, without you being there with the photo buyer saying, this is the story. The photographs have to show that story, that sequence, whatever it happens to be. Next, when you start selecting these photographs, you've met all these criteria. Then you want to make sure you have photographs that are both vertical and horizontal. You want to give that photo buyer the option to lay out that article that works best for them. You're not going to lay it out. You're not going to put it in Word or into, anything else and lay out this article for them. You're going to give them just a text, 1,500 to 1,800 words, give them 15, 20 photographs. They're going to assemble all the pieces, but you want to give them options. You're going to give them verticals and give them horizontals. And then we're going to sit there and look at those photographs. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to select all these photographs based on these criteria. Once you do that, you're going to put those photographs in a folder. And you're going to make sure they're the biggest TIFF that you can, create from that image. It's going to be a flattened TIFF. That's what you're going to want to do. All right. And with that, you then put those images in a folder. And I'm going to tell you to look at them for a couple days. Look at them for a couple days. Why? Because you want to make sure that your weakest image is not pulling down the entire body of photographs. Now, this is the challenge because when you're looking at these photographs, you have to kind of remove yourself as the photographer. Remove yourself from the emotional attachment you have to those photographs. You want to look at this bed of photographs. You want to say, okay, do they tell a story without me writing captions or verbalizing what is the beginning, the middle, and the end? This is a body of photographs that you are going to sit there and put together that tell it all. So in the worst case scenario, and even I haven't had this happen, and again, you know how I write, I've never had my entire article thrown out and someone else rewrite it. Yes, I've had other things done to my text. I've had grammatical issues dealt with. Shocks. Sometimes I've had articles, contracted a little bit. Often I've been asked to expand them. But, when someone says, hey, I need you to add, another 500 words to your article, that's a good thing, okay? That's a bigger payday for you. No problem. And you want to look about those photographs and think about it. And once you have those photographs and you're set in your mind that you've got, strong images that tell that story, horizontal, vertical, giving them options, then you're ready for the next step. And that's actually writing the article. And writing the article, most photographers absolutely that's where their knees start quaking, the sweat pours out, and the liquor cabinet is just about emptied by the time we're done. Not to panic. It's really simple. Look, if I can do it for 40 years, anybody can do it. Because now is the time that we talk about this opportunity, that this need in the editorial marketplace for text photo package to give people inspiration, hope, and to think about the possibilities that's coming just around the corner as we see the light at the end of the tunnel. And with that, I'm going to give you a week to assemble all those parts, to think about it. And then part 2, we're going to go and finish this up, how you can get your story, your photographs published. And remember that while you shoot this week, to make every click your story. Let's talk opportunity.